I never knew a single night could lead to a heartbreaking twist of love and billion-dollar dreams. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. My heart was pounding like a drum calling me to my doom. As I stood in the dim light of the crowded nightclub, sweat dripped down my back. Laughter echoed, glasses clinked, and the pulsing beat of the music felt like a living, breathing entity. And there I was, trapped in my own chaotic thoughts that I glanced around, searching for someone. My best friend Mia was giggling across the room, her hair sparkling like gold under the strobe lights, lost in a world of her own. I envied her. Envy clawed in my chest. There was a heaviness to my heart that I couldn't shake, a fold of grief and longing that wrapped around me like a shadow. Just 2 weeks prior, everything had changed. My parents had lost their business. The bakery that was our family legacy crumbled like stale bread. I felt their heartbreak in every whispered conversation, in the tightness of their smiles. They were supposed to be my safe harbor, but instead I became their warrior. I would fix this. I needed to fix this. And then came Ethan. He stepped into my life like a storm, sweeping me off my feet with those deep blue eyes. Every moment with him felt electric, but there was a weight, a nagging sense of uncertainty that pressed against my heart. Why did he treat me like a treasure one day, then vanish the next? My mind raced, questions spiraling like fallen leaves in an autumn wind. Was he really into me? Or was I just a notch on his belt? The club pulsed around me as I reached for my drink, my hands trembling. The ice clinked, and I looked up to find Ethan standing in front of me. He was different now, a sharp edge to his smile. The air shifted. My heart raced. He leaned in closer, and I could smell the hint of his cologne, smoky and rich. "We need to talk," he said, voice low and urgent. Everything went silent. The chaos around us faded away. All I could hear was the thundering in my chest, drowning out the world. His expression twisted, a mix of urgency and fear. I swallowed hard, feeling the lump in my throat. What did he mean? My imagination ran wild. Was it the end for us? Or something even worse? I could barely breathe, yet I couldn't look away. Suddenly, a figure dashed past us, bumping into Ethan, and he turned, his eyes narrowing. My breath caught. I knew that figure. It was Mia, her face pale and frantic, her eyes darting like a wounded animal. "We have to go," she shouted, her voice raw with panic. Before I could process this, Ethan's gaze shifted to me, his expression morphing into something unreadable. "We'll talk later," he said sharply, and with that, he turned, following Mia into the chaos. The moment shattered like glass around me. I stood there, questions racing in my mind. What the hell just happened? My heart sank into my stomach, something dark brewing beneath the surface. I had no idea how intertwined our lives were about to become. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The night air felt electric as I stepped outside the club, a chill wrapping around me like a wet blanket. I quickly scanned the crowd, searching for Mia. My heart hammered in my chest, a mix of anxiety and confusion swirling within. What had just happened? Why did she look so terrified? The vibrant lights of the club faded behind me, and all that remained was a cacophony of distant music. In my racing thoughts, I spotted Mia by a row of parked cars, her hands trembling as she fished out her phone. The shadows played tricks on her face, highlighting her worry. Her breath came in shallow gasps, and I approached cautiously, the uncertainty heavy on my shoulders. "Mia, what is it?" I asked, the words tumbling out amidst my own rising panic. She didn't answer right away, her fingers frantically tapping at the screen. Then she dropped her phone, a breathless whisper escaping her lips. "They're coming. We need to hide." The words hung in the air like an uninvited ghost. A jangly anxiety settled in my stomach. "Who's coming?" I questioned, but I didn't think I wanted to know the answer. As if sensing my hesitation, her eyes widened, brimming with unshed tears. "I overheard something terrible. Ethan, he's involved in something." The gravity of her statement hit me like a punch. I glanced back at the club, uncertainty swimming in my mind. How could Ethan, the boy I'd felt a storm of emotions for, be caught up in something dark? A thick web of doubt and fear encased my heart as Mia continued. They're after him. It's about money, something huge. If they find him, the words trailed off, but I could hear the silence loud and clear. The world felt impossibly heavy, and I struggled to breathe under the weight. My instinct was to take a step back from the cliff that was our reality. You don't know that for sure, I whispered, desperate to find a foothold in this treacherous terrain. That I heard them, Marie. They said he owes them. They were talking about breaking legs if he doesn't pay, she pleaded, eyes pleading for understanding. My mind whirled with images of Ethan, always showing a brave face, with hints of vulnerability that I had cherished. But how could I have missed this? Just then a shadow passed behind us, looming large and intimidating. My heart sank as I recognized the figure. Two men, thuggish silhouettes, scanning the area with a predatory intensity. Panic clawed at me. We had to act. Quick! This way! I grabbed Mia's hand and pulled her toward a narrow alley between two buildings. The shadows swallowed us and we huddled in the dark, breathing heavily, our hearts synchronized in a rhythm of fear. I could feel Mia's quickening pulse throbbing against my palm, and I squeezed tighter, as if to anchor both of us. They're looking for him, Mia whispered, her voice shaking. What if they find us? We should have just left when this all started. Her worry rooted itself under my skin, mingling with my own doubts. What had I gotten myself into by caring about him? But it was too late. Empathy and love held me captive even amidst chaos. I needed to know what was going on. Mia, we can't just leave Ethan to deal with this alone. We have to find him and make sure he's okay, I insisted, more bravely than I felt. A flicker of hope ignited in Mia's eyes, but it was short-lived. And what if he's not okay? What if it's too late? The fear was palpable, and in that moment I understood the weight she carried too. We were both scared, and both naive to the reality of the world unraveling around us. As we stood there, hearts racing, the distant sound of footsteps approached. I strained to hear, the whispers of danger getting closer. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the tension. Ethan. Marie. Mia. Where are you? He shouted, urgent and searching. Relief flooded me, but the looming dread of the situation overshadowed it. Mia squeezed my hand and shook her head, the fear washing back over her. What do we do? Before I could answer, the alley lit up with harsh beams of light, illuminating the men who had followed us. My heart slammed against my ribcage as shock rippled through me. I turned to Ethan, who stood frozen, eyes wide in disbelief, and for a split second, everything slowed down as the truth crashed over me like a wave. Ethan wasn't just a bystander in this chaos. He was the epicenter of it all, and it appeared he had secrets that could shatter everything. Run! I screamed, adrenaline fueling the urgency of my plea. But as Ethan stepped closer to protect us, I sensed the danger looming ever larger, swallowing the hope I had just fought to ignite. And in that moment, standing on the precipice of chaos with everything I cared about hanging by a thread, the weight of the truth pressed against me. The night was just beginning, and nothing would be as it seemed anymore. The sound of my heartbeat was deafening as I pulled Mia deeper into the shadows of the alleyway, trying to both shield her from the piercing beams of light and shield myself from the impending chaos. Ethan took a step forward, his expression oscillating between fear and defiance, as the men drew closer, flanking the alley's entrance. It felt surreal, like watching a nightmare unfold in slow motion. Yet this was our reality now. Mia, stay behind me, I urged, instinctively moving in front of her as the figures advanced. But Ethan's eyes were locked on me, fears and resolve intertwined. I can't, I need to protect both of you, he said, his voice low but urgent. Before I could respond, one of the men reached for a flashlight and swung it toward us, illuminating our faces in stark relief. The glimmer of recognition danced in his eyes, and he smirked, reveling in the moment like a predator cornering its prey. Well, what do we have here? A chill raced down my spine. The alley felt narrower by the second, and I felt trapped, the walls closing in. I clenched Mia's hand tighter, silently urging her to remain silent while my mind raced for a plan. Let's go, I exclaimed suddenly as panic surged, urging us all to escape. I turned to run but caught sight of Mia's petrified face, her eyes wide with terror. Now, as we scrambled backward, The men lunged forward, their footsteps echoing against the alley walls. "Don't run. We just want to talk," one of them shouted mockingly. Laughter followed, dark and menacing, and it sent a wave of dread washing over me. Ethan took a step forward, a flicker of determination transforming his expression. "You don't want to do this," he warned, digging deep into the facade of his usual bravado. He glanced back at us, eyes pleading, as if hoping to convey a silent message. "Trust me." But trust felt futile in the face of an unwelcome reality. "Ethan," I began to plead, but he glanced back, fear glinting in his gaze. "I know them," he muttered. And that declaration hung between us like a heavy shroud. "They're not just thugs. They're part of the network I tried to escape." The air grew thick with unvoiced implications, and I felt a chill wind down my spine. The pieces began to fall into place, unsettling yet undeniable. Ethan wasn't just involved. He was entangled, perhaps even in over his head. "Mia, we need to find another way out," I said, urgency rekindling in me. But we were trapped, the only exit blocked by the relentless men and the unforgiving grip of fear. Yet amidst the panic, a moment of lucidity gripped me. "Ethan," I called, feeling a surge of determination. "If you know them, then you must know their weaknesses. There's got to be a reason they're after you. What did you do?" A flicker of something, pain, guilt, maybe even regret crossed Ethan's features. "I didn't mean to get involved, but I owe money. A lot of it." The men laughed again, this time with an inflection that felt both threatening and vindictive. "You see? It's always about the money, isn't it?" One of them stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "But we're not here for you. Not yet. We want the girl." Every ounce of heat in my body turned ice cold. "What are you talking about?" I demanded, but my voice wobbled. "Oh, we know about her," the man continued, gesturing toward me. "What a lovely little secret. You'll bring a pretty penny if you're removed from the equation." Panic surged once more through a newfound lens of betrayal. How did they know me? How was my name even tied to this mess? "You're lying," I shouted defiantly, though uncertainty laced my words. Suddenly, from behind, I heard a faint siren wailing in the distance. It was our only sliver of hope, the police. But would they get here in time? "Move," Ethan commanded, as he began to backtrack while keeping his eyes on the men's movements. I pulled Mia in closer, our hearts thrumming as if trying to communicate with one another through sheer adrenaline. "Don't come any closer," Ethan warned, drawing a scrappy resolve as we stumbled back towards the direction of the impending sirens. The men sneered, but I could see hesitance flickering in their eyes. With a rush of adrenaline, we darted past the men, racing to the alley's exit. My legs pumped furiously, each step fueled by desperation and hope. "Just keep running," I yelled, glancing back quickly and seeing Ethan still behind us, holding his ground. But before I could process what I'd seen, there was a sudden shout from behind. It was a cry of rage, a mixture of anger and access denied. And then chaos erupted, a loud crash, followed by the blare of sirens, drowned out amid my own fearful screams. In a last desperate act, Ethan bolted toward us, his eyes fiercely determined, calling out, "Marie, don't stop." Just as he reached us, the alley brightened momentarily with swirling red and blue lights bursting into the scene, casting an eerie glow. The shadows fled, but so did our opportunity as a powerful hand grasped Ethan's arm, yanking him back into the fray. "Mia," I cried, panic rising as I fought to pull Ethan away from whoever had him in their grasp. I felt our fingers slip apart under the strain of the chaos. "That's enough," a voice thundered, reverberating throughout the alley like the crack of thunder. I watched helplessly as my world slipped further from my grasp, and as Ethan was dragged away into the night, I was left with one haunting thought. Even as the sirens heralded help, we were far from safe, and everything I believed about love and trust was shattering before me. Our fight was just beginning. The sirens faded as quickly as they appeared, leaving only an unsettling quiet in the aftermath of the chaos. The adrenaline that had fueled my sprint ebbed away, replaced by a suffocating grief as I clutched Mia's trembling hand tighter. "We have to go," I whispered, my voice strained and raw. Mia glanced up at me, her brow knitted with confusion and terror. "What about Ethan?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The innocence in her eyes shattered my heart further. Don't know, Mia," I stammered, feeling the weight of responsibility press harder against my chest. If only I had acted faster, had been more clever, maybe we wouldn't be in this mess. Before we could step further into the street, we heard someone shouting behind us. A figure emerged from the shadows, a woman tall and fierce, her presence resolute in the face of vulnerability and fear. Anguish and urgency pulsed through her features as she called, "Marie." "Wait." I hesitated, dread curling in my stomach. "Who are you? What do you want?" "Maya," she said, rushing over to us, her breath labored. "I know Ethan. I was looking for him." "But they've taken him," I said, my voice trembling as realization sank in. The world swirled around me, and suddenly, it felt as if the solid ground beneath my feet was unraveling. Maya regarded me with a fierce intensity, her eyes searching mine as if seeking something within me. "I don't have much time. They're searching for him, and if they find you, what do you know?" I pressed, shaking with a mix of anger and desperation. "What is this about?" She hesitated, a moment of hesitation that felt too heavy with implications. "They don't just want him for money," she divulged, her voice a rough whisper laden with urgency. "There's something more illegal at play, something involving you. I'm not here to hurt you, but you need to trust me." Trust had become a fragile thread I was no longer sure I could grasp. "What are you talking about?" Maya ran a hand through her disheveled hair. "Ethan got involved in something much bigger than he realized. Those men," she paused, clearly struggling for the right words, "they think you hold the key. If they get you, I don't know what will happen." "Get me?" I echoed, the terror pooling in my chest. "Why? Your family," she replied, her gaze steady but filled with daunting implications. "They've got ties with someone powerful. Someone dangerous. It's all about leverage, and right now, you're it. They want to use you to get to Ethan." A suffocating silence lingered around us, and I felt the vivid memories of my family come flooding back, their secrets, their connections, things tucked away in the corners of my mind that I had always thought were just family lore. But this felt darker, more sinister. "Mia, we have to go now," I said firmly, my heart pulling between protecting my sister and the reality of the situation. Maya's eyes darted around nervously, her protective instincts kicking into high gear as she leaned closer. "You can't just run. If they see you, it'll all be over. We need a plan." As panic threatened to overwhelm me once more, there was a flicker of hope. "What do you suggest?" "There's a place," Maya explained, glancing quickly over her shoulder. "An old warehouse on the edge of town. It's safe, at least for now. It'll help you, but we need to be careful. They're everywhere." My heart raced as I contemplated her offer. Every instinct told me to flee, to find safety, but I couldn't abandon Ethan. "What about Ethan?" I asked, my voice breaking. "I'll do everything I can to help him too," Maya vowed, her eyes seizing mine with fierce determination. "But first, we need to keep you safe. It's the only way." I turned to Mia, who looked up at me with wide eyes, a mixture of fear and trust swimming within them. "Can we do this?" she whispered. I swallowed hard, the weight of the choice heavy on my shoulders. "We will. Promise." As we moved quietly through the shadows, a soft voice echoed in my mind, the sound of Ethan's laughter reverberating against the walls of my heart. Could I truly protect my sister and fight for him too? But the uncertain path lay ahead, filled with obstacles I couldn't yet foresee. As I stole one last glance back toward the alley where our world had so drastically changed, a chilling thought struck me. What if Maya wasn't just trying to help? What if she was part of the trap? Before I could dwell on it, I caught a fleeting glimpse of a shadow, creeping closer, lurking behind us, its intention unclear. A chill crept up my spine. "Marie?" Maya whispered urgently as she caught my eyes widening. "What's wrong?" "Someone is following us," I breathed, as the darkness draped around us felt sharper, more suffocating. And just like that, reality clutched at me, squeezing tight, as I felt hope and fear collide in a way that left me breathless. Fear of losing everything, and the hope of what might await if I could embrace my courage, and the truth. The cool night air clawed at my skin as we slipped deeper into the shadows, every echo amplifying the pounding of my heart. Mia's fingers remained tightly intertwined with mine, her small hand a tether to the normalcy that felt so distant. Each step felt like it could be our last, and the stakes rose like flames licking at kindling, hungry for something to consume. Maya hurried us along, her urgency palpable. I didn't know whether to trust her completely or view her as another piece in a web spun by unseen hands. "We have to cross the street," she urged in a low voice, glancing over her shoulder like a hawk searching for prey. Wait, I murmured, pulling Mia to a stop. Is there a way out? Somewhere safe. Just a little further, she insisted, but uncertainty flickered in her eyes. The warehouse she mentioned had become a mirage in my mind, a symbol of escape from this nightmare. Yet laden with doubt of its own. Maya, I pressed. What about Ethan? Would they hurt him? The thought twisted my insides, black tendrils of worry curling around my heart. Maya took a breath, the weight of her next words heavy. They won't kill him, at least not yet. They want what he knows, but the moment they realize there's no leverage. No, I interrupted, shaking my head. I won't accept that. I'll fight for him. Her expression softened, a blend of admiration and concern. That's admirable, but this isn't just about bravery. We need to be smart about this. As we neared the street corner, a glimmer of hope pierced my overwhelming dread. It felt small but enough to push me forward. I was determined to save Ethan, and if Maya was right, perhaps there was still light amidst this chaos. Just as we stepped out from the shadows, a harsh voice cut through the night. Hey! Stop right there. I froze, the authority in the command sending a jolt of fear coursing through me. Behind us, illuminated by an unforgiving streetlight, stood a figure clad in black, a man with cold eyes and an air of danger that felt tangible. The kind of presence that sent shivers crawling down my spine. Run! Maya shouted, pushing us ahead. I barely registered her words as my feet moved, propelled by panic. Mia clutched my hand tighter, her breath hitching in terror. We dashed through the streets, heartbeats mismatched with the pounding of our footsteps. Something primal ignited inside me, the need to protect driving me, fueled by the thought of Ethan's face. I could not fail him. Suddenly, a noise erupted from behind, a sound unmistakably of footsteps following close. Marie there. Mia breathed, her voice a haunting echo against the gloom. I didn't glance back. That fear was paralyzing enough. Straining to hear any sign of pursuers, Maya's voice broke through. Keep going. We're almost there. And just as despair threatened to consume me, I spotted the warehouse looming ahead, vast and foreboding against the night sky. Its entrance was barely illuminated, the doors slightly ajar like a beckoning wound. With no more choices left, we surged forward, entering the warehouse like moths to a flickering flame. Inside, the air was stale, heavy with the scent of iron and dust, a seeming refuge poised to betray us at any moment. Maya led us further inside, moving quietly along the walls. We need to stay hidden, she whispered, searching the dark corners. Her practical tone steadied me, but questions swirled in my mind like leaves caught in a tempest. Suddenly, an overwhelming crash echoed from the entrance, followed by the sound of heavy boots marching into the space. Panic surged, and I held Mia close as I surveyed our surroundings for an escape. Marie, we can't stay here. Maya hissed, her eyes glistening with urgency. There must be a back entrance. But before I could respond, the shadows danced, and a familiar voice called out from the threshold. Marie? Mia? Are you in here? My pulse quickened, emotions tangling in a chaotic dance. Could it be? Ethan? I gasped, the name a slip of hope dancing through my lips. Marie, I need you, came his voice, more desperate than I'd ever heard. But the surrounding shadows remained thick, and I couldn't tell if it was truly him or a cruel trick of my mind. Maya, what do we do? I asked, torn between rushing toward the sound and the fear of being caught in a trap. Stay low and quiet, she urged, and in a blur of movement, she pushed us toward a paper-thin partition in the chaos of the warehouse. Mia clutched my arm, her eyes wide with bewilderment. Is it really him? She whispered, alternating between fear and hope. Stay close, I replied, squeezing her hand so tightly it felt as if I could draw strength from her very being. But as the footsteps grew louder and Ethan's voice dimmed, another chilling realization overshadowed my yearning for him. What if chasing after him forced us straight into the hands of what we feared most? The clock was ticking, and the danger loomed thick like smoke. Just as I hesitated, a shadow fell over Mia and me. Well, what have we here? A voice chuckled softly from behind, filled with malice, a stranger pulling the strings of our fates together. And just like that, the little hope I harbored wavered on the edge of being snuffed out. In this moment, I understood that every whisper of the dark loomed larger than the promise of love. This night was only just beginning to unveil its heart-wrenching truths. The air was still and thick, the oppressive silence of the warehouse wrapping around us like a suffocating blanket. A chill settled in my bones as I faced the stranger, his shadow blotting out any glimmer of light that had dared to penetrate our sanctuary. "Who are you?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper, laced with fear and defiance as he stepped closer, his eyes gleaming with malicious intent, and I recognized the calmness that accompanied such danger. "Just a friend," he said, the words dripping with sarcasm. "But I believe you're looking for someone." He chuckled, mixing mirth with menace before continuing. "And oh, what a predicament you found yourselves in." That I felt Mia tense beside me, her grip tightening with every instilled fear. My thoughts raced. Ethan remained somewhere in the dark, unaware of the very real threat that loomed over us. But the malevolence radiating from this man mirrored the dread in my heart. "Let us go," I said, steeling my gaze to match his, even if my insides quaked. "We don't want any trouble." "Trouble seems to follow you, doesn't it?" His smile was unnerving, as if he relished in our plight. He glanced towards the entrance, listening for signs of others as if he was merely savoring the game. "But then again, it's far too late for that, dear." He reached out, fingers brushing against my arm, and I recoiled instinctively. "What do you want?" I demanded, desperate to hide the tremor in my voice. "That's a good question." He leaned in, closing the distance further, and the scent of smoke and danger filled my nostrils. "You see, I wasn't expecting to find you both here, but now that I have, well, let's just say I have a proposition." My heart sank, hope flickered like a fragile candle against the suffocating darkness. If only I could somehow find Ethan before things spiraled further out of control. "We need to get to my brother, Ethan." "Where is he?" I pressed, frustration boiling beneath my skin as the unfamiliar man shifted uncomfortably. "Patience, dear girl," he replied, feigning an air of warmth. His voice dropped, transforming into a dark whisper. "Your brother is safe for now, but that safety comes with a price, a very steep price." Maya took a step forward, eyes blazing with indignation. "What do you mean? Are you working with them?" Her words were bold, but I could see her shaking beneath the surface. "As they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend," he sneered, lifting his hands in mock surrender. "I have no love for them either. But sometimes you need to play both sides to ensure survival." He turned and glanced towards the ongoing commotion at the entrance, the scuffling of shoes echoing through the cavernous emptiness. Anguish clenched at my heart. There was no time to waste. "Just tell us where Ethan is." He paused, his expression shifting slightly. A flicker of something akin to pity crossed his features, replaced swiftly by resolve. "Perhaps I can help you. But you have to understand, it'll cost you." "Cost me what?" I spat, my heart racing and resentment rising. He stepped back, a sharp gaze suddenly tuning into something more serious. "Your trust. You'll need to give me something to work with, your faith in this process." "Faith?" Maya interrupted, exasperation evident in her voice. "You think asking us for faith when our lives are on the line is remotely reasonable?" The tension between them crackled like a live wire. "I'm not asking for faith in me," he snapped back, his resolve unyielding. "I'm asking for an alliance. You and I both want the same thing, to stop them from reaching Ethan. But we need leverage, and I can help with that. Can you meet me halfway?" Maya and I exchanged glances, caught in the whirlwind of emotions swirling around us. Should we trust this stranger? Or was it yet another trap? My heart raced with dread, memories of Ethan's laughter echoing in my mind, pulling me forward like a lifeline. "Fine," I said, feeling the weight of what I was agreeing to slither around my spine. "What do you want from us?" He smiled, that unsettling smile once more. Every trace of friendliness diminished. "Very simple. Bring me what I need from within their walls, and I will deliver your brother safely. Are we agreed?" Before I could respond, a sudden commotion erupted at the entrancing battle of voices and shuffling feet. Panic surged anew, and I caught a glimpse of shadows rushing forward. Time crystallized. "Maya!" I shouted, urgency blaring through my veins. "Let's not linger, shall we?" He gestured to a side door, urgency rippling in his tone, yet I could sense the danger of who we might encounter next. But as I looked towards the door and the looming chaos behind, the truth sank in deeper than ever before. Turning back was as perilous as taking a step into the unknown. We could be heading straight into danger disguised as an ally. And all the while, the sound of Ethan's voice resonated pleading for me through the abyss, each echoing cry a painful reminder of the choices yet to come. In that moment, it felt like the heart of the night was thundering with inevitability. I had to act not only for Ethan but for Mia and myself. "Let's go," I urged, taking a bold step towards the door, my heart pounding a reckless rhythm of defiance and fear. But as I reached for the handle, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed loudly behind us, a flood of shadows spilling into the stark light of the warehouse. And my heart sank, for just beyond them was a familiar face I had only longed to see and yet also dreaded more than anything. In that split second it was clear we were trapped in a game where no one played by the rules, and the stakes had just been raised higher than I could have ever imagined. The shadows moved in swift and chaotic bursts, washing over the warehouse like a flood. I had braced myself for a confrontation with faceless foes, but as the light from the entrance flickered against the dark, a figure emerged who made my heart clench with a mixture of longing and despair. "Ethan!" I gasped, recognition flooding my senses. But even as joy surged, dread curled its icy fingers around my throat. Fear throbbed at my temples. This was not the reunion I had envisioned. He stood poised, tense and vulnerable, an edge of uncertainty clouding his eyes. "I came looking for you. What the hell is going on?" His voice, though familiar, trembled with fear, slicing through the tension that pulsed in the air between us. Before I could respond, the stranger beside me shifted closer, his presence suddenly a reminder of our precarious alliance. "He's here," he said, mockingly soft. "And unfortunately, it seems precious time is no longer on your side. Mia, take Ethan and get out," I yelled, reckless desperation tumbling from my lips. "You have to, not without you," Ethan interrupted, his brow lined with determination. "You're not leaving me behind again." The sheer gravity of those words shattered the fragile hope that had been slowly rebuilding in my chest. Memories of our last separation flooded back, how we had promised each other we'd always find a way back, no matter the distance. But this time the stakes felt different. The very world around us was crumbling, and I could sense the ticking clock of danger lapping at our heels. "Believe me, I can't let them take you again," I cried, my eyes darting towards the intruding shadows, the voices becoming louder, more threatening. "I don't care what it takes, we face it together," Ethan stated, gripping my hand as the warmth of his touch attempted to ground my spiraling thoughts. Maya stepped forward, her voice carrying a note of authority. "If we stay here, we'll be trapped. We can't let him dictate what we do, we need a plan." There was strength in her conviction, a brief light in the encroaching darkness, and unexpected kindness washed over me. How even in chaos, my friends stood firm, their spirits unyielding. "You don't understand," I breathed, feeling the weight of sorrow clutch my heart. "He's been playing us against each other. We can't trust him." Ethan's gaze darted between Maya and the stranger, confusion swirling in the air like smoke. "What do you mean? This is the man who has the power to help us, right?" "Yeah, that is if you want to play his game," I shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. It felt as if the walls were closing in on me, the very air thick with impending doom. "Time to choose, then," the stranger chimed, drawing our attention back to him, his voice dripping with amusement. "Do you trust me, or do you trust your instincts? I can help you, will keep him safe, but you have to act now." I hesitated, my heart thundering in my chest as I glanced at Ethan, his face a mask of uncertainty. One part of me longed to reach out for him, to slip away from the insane game unfolding, while another part remained fiercely protective, a guardian against the darkness. "Ethan, listen to me," I pleaded, urgency spilling through my words. "I need you to trust me. You have to get out before the shadows shifted again." Dense shapes closing in, blurring the lines between friend and foe. Suddenly a shout erupted from the crowd outside, drowning my words. "There they are!" A surge of menacing figures flooded into the warehouse, and in the chaos, I felt the earth beneath us shake with a rumble of dread. They were coming straight for us. "Now we can either surrender to the storm," the stranger said, his voice rising above the noise, "or we can fight together." Just as uncertainty threatened to swallow me whole, I glanced at Ethan. His expression had transformed. Resolute determination surged through him. "Let's do this together," he declared, squeezing my hand tighter, emboldened by something deep, a bond that defied fear. And then, just as we steadied ourselves to confront the impending onslaught, a loud crash resounded from above, the ceiling beaming with ominous cracks. Rain of dust showering down upon us. "Get behind me!" Ethan shouted, pushing me back defensively. But in that moment, everything shifted. My heart raced, adrenaline coursing, our years of survival and love colliding in a split-second decision. I glanced at the stranger who wore a confident grin. What was his end goal? Would he betray us at the first opportunity? But my fears were eclipsed by the urgency of the moment, as the realization sunk in. This was not just a battle for freedom, but a desperate fight through the spirals of my heart. Then, unexpectedly, the warehouse doors creaked open wider, allowing a burst of light, revealing figures cloaked in shadows, faces hidden but unmistakable, the very people we had hoped to evade. "Ethan!" I cried out, and my world tilted. "We need to go now." But just as we turned to escape, a figure emerged from the darkness, a familiar silhouette I had never thought I'd see again. "What have you done?" a voice I dreaded said, slicing through the chaos as a chilling realization swept over me, and that instant, everything spiraled, fracturing the thread of hope I had clung to, and this night transformed into an endless abyss of decisions that would alter everything I ever believed in. The brightness from the doorway illuminated the familiar figure unnaturally, casting an ethereal glow around him, a stark contrast to the grim chaos engulfing the warehouse. "Lucas," I whispered, the name tumbling from my lips like a secret I had kept buried deep within my heart. "What have you done?" His tone was low, laced with incredulity and a hint of hurt. Ethan turned towards me, his grip loosening as he took in the sight of Lucas. The betrayal etched on his face was palpable. The new danger wasn't just from the shadows, it came wrapped in memories, heavy with regret and nostalgia. "Lucas," I choked out, my heart thudding in my chest. "You shouldn't be here." "Oh really?" He shot back, his eyes narrowing as he brushed past the newcomer. "And yet here I am, trying to save your life while you reckon with your own poor choices." His words were sharp, filled with frustration that cut deeper than I allowed myself to admit. Save my life? By doing what? By standing with them? The chaos around us had faded slightly, and with it my anger boiled over. "You think I could ever trust you again after everything that happened? You left me, did what I had to do. The choice was never yours to make." Lucas interrupted, stepping closer, the tension crackling like static in the air. Ethan's confusion morphed into anger as he glared at Lucas, the fierce protectiveness he bore for me surfacing like a raging tide. "Look, whatever happened between you two is irrelevant right now. We need to figure out how to get out of this before people start dying." "Die? We're already dead in our hearts." Lucas shot back, gesturing wildly. "How can you even think to protect her? You don't know what you're up against." The shadows lurked closer, their presence a reminder of the inevitable darkness that tightened its hold around us, every second ticking away with relentless urgency. "Enough!" I shouted, my voice slicing through their argument, desperation clawing at my throat. I turned to Ethan, tears pooling in my eyes. "We don't have time for this. We have to get out now." "Lucas is right, we don't know what we're dealing with." In that moment, Lucas' demeanor softened slightly, as if my words reached a part of him he had long shielded from vulnerability. "I want to help you, Mia. But you need to listen." Ethan's resolve faltered just a fraction, and I seized that moment. "We can't trust anyone right now, this is bigger than us. We need to leave. If we stay, we're only acting out a tragic play leading to our own destruction." But the flicker of hope I had envisioned began flickering out with every second spent in indecision. Suddenly, the echoes of heavy footsteps grew louder, the intruders getting closer, as adrenaline surged within me. Without another thought, I grabbed Ethan's arm and started toward the warehouse's exit, pulling him behind me. "Maya! Let's go!" I shouted, glancing back to find her on the other side, steeling herself against the approaching shadows. Just as we reached the door, a loud crash erupted behind us, and the structure shuddered violently, debris raining down. I glanced back, and there, just beneath the chaos, I saw the stranger again, eyes glinting with something sinister. "You really think you can escape?" I felt Ethan's hand tighten around mine. "We can't stop," he urged, staring at me with fierce determination. "Let's move," I cried just as Lucas grabbed my shoulder and pulled me back. "Wait," he pleaded, urgency painted on his face. "I can help you, Mia. You don't know what they're planning, but you can't trust them." "Lucas, it's too late." I shouted. The noise was growing unbearable, and the shadows were closing in. The weight of his plea hung heavy on my heart, conflicting with the need for survival, as his words clawed at my mind like a persistent echo. Suddenly, the figure of the stranger blocked our way, and with confident menace he spoke, "You think you can just walk out? Not while I'm still at play. When the storm clears, you'll wish you had taken my offer." Frustration coiled around me, squeezing tightly as I searched for a way through. Just then, without warning, Ethan broke free from my grip, moving toward the stranger with equal parts fear and defiance. "What do you mean by that? What do you want?" The stranger chuckled, sinister amusement dancing in his eyes as they bored into Ethan's. "Ah, simpleton youth. So trustful. You want like the answer your little Mia here is an essential piece of the puzzle." The atmosphere thickened, stifling as my heart raced, and just when I thought I might implode, Lucas stepped forward, resolute. "You know nothing about her. She is stronger than you'll ever comprehend." But those words felt hollow against the mounting dread unfurling inside me. My eyes darted between the stranger and Ethan, and in that pivotal moment, the heavy weight of my choices pressed down upon me. Then, with a sudden wave of clarity, realization struck me with the force of a tidal wave. "What do you want with me?" I demanded, my desperation giving way to defiance. The stranger leaned closer, a dark smile curling at the corners of his lips. "Oh Mia, you're so much more than you ever realized. Are you ready to find out just how deep the rabbit hole goes?" Before he could say more, the warehouse shuddered violently again, and plaster fell from the ceiling. The shadows lurched, and instinct took over. It was time to act. "Run!" I shouted, knowing time was slipping away as quickly as hope. But before I could make a single step, Lucas and Ethan were suddenly thrust toward each other, their differences stark and swirling like a tempest. The very air vibrated, charged with unspoken words and unresolved tensions, when out of nowhere, a sudden flash of light sparked, illuminating the ache within my chest. A figure appeared in the doorway, silhouetted against the harsh light, and with a shocked gasp I recognized him, their third wheel, the one I had long presumed lost in the shuffle of chaos. "Stay away from her," he shouted, his voice ringing out with fierce courage, and in that instant, everything hung on a precipice of uncertainty. Our choices, our love, and all the tangled threads in our lives began to unravel. The chaos demanded resolution, but from where would it come, and at what cost? I could only stand there, caught in the eye of the storm, as a dread certainty fell heavy over me. My world was shifting, the very foundations trembling beneath the weight of secrets yet to be revealed. The air was thick with anticipation, the type that makes your pulse quicken and your skin prickle. I stood frozen, the harsh light revealing the familiar face of Noah, ghost from my past, I never thought I would see again. Just when I thought the world had stripped everything from me, it brought him back like some cruel twist of fate. "Noah," I breathed, the name barely escaping my lips. My heart ached, tearing at the memories of laughter, stolen glances, and an unspoken bond shattered by a silence that now felt unbearable. "You shouldn't be here," Lucas spat, his protective instinct flaring back to life, and I felt the weight of his tension in the space between us. Noah took a step forward, unwavering. "I don't care what's happening. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Mia." Ethan shifted beside me, uncertainty coloring his expression as he processed Noah's unexpected reappearance. "What do you even know about this? About them?" he asked, his voice laced with skepticism. The shadows at the edge of the warehouse stirred, and the stranger's sinister chuckle echoed in the high ceilings, filling the air with menace. "A lovebirds? How touching. But you're all swimming in deep waters now," he taunted, fingers tapping on the weapon at his side, a sickening reminder of our potential end. "Enough," I snapped, frustration coursing through me. This is not the time to revisit old wounds. My heart raced, part of me wanting to run to Noah, to find solace in his presence, and another part screaming for survival amidst this chaos. Noah's gaze met mine, filled with a courage that warmed the cold dread in my chest. "Mia, you need to trust me. I know what they want and I have a plan. We can't let them take you." The mention of a plan so simple yet so weighty shirked aside my flood of emotions, ushering me closer to clarity. My thoughts tangled, and I felt like I was standing at the edge of a vast abyss that could swallow me whole. "What is it? What do they want with me?" The stranger raised an eyebrow, a look of mock sympathy on his face. "Oh Mia, such naive innocence. You're being pulled into a game much larger than you comprehend. It's not just your life at stake. It's your very essence. The word essence hung in the air like thick smoke, clouding my mind. Chills cascaded down my spine as another realization washed over me like ice water. What if this was somehow connected to the dreams I'd been having, the ones that blurred the lines of reality and paranoia? Thereafter my blood, I whispered, horror creeping into my voice. Not just blood, but what it can unlock, the stranger replied. His smile as cold as the steel of his weapon. You're a key by birthright. And every door you unlock could lead to power beyond your wildest dreams or lead to your demise. Oh, I managed, shaking my head in disbelief. My mind spiraled. How could I, a simple girl, be some cornerstone in a world that felt far removed from my mundane existence? But Noah stepped closer, stealing some of that fear away by his mere presence, grounding me. We can't just stand here. If they want you, we need to get you out even from under their shadows. I promise I won't let them have you. Ethan caught my gaze, a blend of trepidation and loyalty etched on his face. I'm in. But we must move quickly. Every second we waste is another opportunity for them to close in. Yet the grounded determination from Noah and Ethan was swiftly dampened by the shadows advancing, now clawing up the walls and reaching for our escape. An oppressive weight bore down on my shoulders, the reality of it all crashing hard against me. But how do we escape? Through the tunnels, Noah replied, voice steady, and I could see the resolve in his eyes. The memories we shared fanned the embers of hope. I know a way out that they won't expect. Follow me. Without waiting for response, he started moving quickly towards a dilapidated part of the warehouse, and in that moment my instinct kicked in. I turned to Lucas and Ethan, urgency to protect igniting within me. Let's go. But the moment we started to obey, a loud thud reverberated through the room, causing the walls to tremble under the weight of our fear. The stranger, unhindered, stepped forward, narrowing the distance between us. Run if you wish, but know that every escape has its price. And I will make sure you pay it, he added, the edge of his tone echoing with an unsettling finality. Fueled by panic, we sprinted deeper into the shadows, Noah's hand clasping mine, pulling me along as Ethan and Lucas followed. The stench of dust and despair hung in the air, each step pulling me further away from who I thought I was. As we raced through the darkness of the tunnel, the walls felt like they were closing in, and the oppressive noise of our pursuers clawed at my chest. My breath became ragged, the weight of anger, fear, and uncertainty settling in my gut like a heavy stone. Then, just as we neared what looked like a source of light, a faint glimmer of hope, a sudden crash echoed from behind us, followed by a deafening roar. A figure surged into our path, eyes glimmering with an otherworldly glow. Where do you think you're going? He bellowed, voice echoing through the tunnel, and in that instant, all hope ripped from my grasp, leaving only despair lingering on the brink of reality. As he took a step closer, the darkness closed in around us, and I realized this fight was far from over. With hearts pounding and uncertainty creeping up our backs, the lines between past and present blurred amid the chaos. Would we emerge into the light, or would we be consumed, drawn into a desperate struggle from which there was no return? The light flickered ahead, a shimmering beacon cutting through the darkness of the tunnel, yet it felt like a mirage in a desert of chaos. The weight of despair clung to my chest like a leaden cloak, constricting my breath as the evil figure blocked our escape. His shadow loomed larger, growing bolder, fed by our fear and uncertainty. Where do you think you're going? He taunted, his voice rolling over us, drowning the air with dread. I felt Noah's grip tighten on my hand, a grounding force amid the storm that raged around us. We're not afraid of you, I whispered, though my heart screamed in protest, thrumming against the walls of my chest. But even as the bravado tumbled from my lips, I knew it was a lie. Fear swirled in my stomach like poison. The man sneered, advancing towards us, and Ethan stepped into the light beside me, the color draining from his face. Get away from her, he shouted, a desperate plea erupting from his lips. But the figure only scoffed, his laughter a cruel echo that bounced back at us. Just then, the distant sound of sirens punctured through the throbbing darkness. Hope flickered, a fleeting moment of clarity. Whatever this man wanted, we had to get out before it was too late. Noah! I cried, panic squeezing my throat. Is there another way? He glanced back, eyes resolute. We need to push past him. If we stay, we die. I'll distract him, When I do, you all run. No, we won't leave you, Ethan protested. Yes, you will. Noah insisted, voice firm yet filled with urgency. There's no time. I won't let him take you, I promise. Panic surged, but before I could voice the desperation clawing at my throat, Noah lunged forward, an act of brave defiance that sent the man reeling back. The plan was mad, reckless, and audacious, but I was powerless to stop it. Go! He shouted, and the command was etched in desperation. Reality blurred as adrenaline surged, the shadows around me morphing into a tempest of chaos and fear. I grabbed Ethan's hand, pulling him towards the light. Run! Now! We both shouted, urgency fueling each frantic step as we shoved past the figure who remained momentarily distracted, eyes raging. We barreled forward into the light, the world outside jolting back to life around us. Adrenaline pumped through my veins, but as we burst into the freezing night air, something in my gut clenched, a haunting twist of fate promising only ambiguity lay ahead. Where's Mia? Maya shouted frantically, joggling my disoriented thoughts as I spun around. The sense of urgency permeated the air, carrying with it the fear of our bonds slowly unraveling. We need to go back. Now no. Hell, get caught. Ethan yelled, dread washing over him like a torrential tide. But beneath our shared anguish stood a singular, undeniable truth. Noah had sacrificed himself willingly. The world twisted around me. Clarity surged as the realization settled in deeper than fear. In his act of bravery, he had bestowed upon me the greatest gift, freedom, but at the highest cost. With anger coursing through my veins, a sudden plan crystallized in my mind, igniting new determination. We won't let his sacrifice be in vain, I exclaimed, heart thrumming with a fierce hope as I turned my gaze back towards the shadows of the warehouse. A horrifying thought struck me. If Noah faced those odds alone, then I couldn't bear to think what horrors lay in wait. We have to go back, I shouted, pulling free from Ethan's grasp before he could react. Marie. No. Mia's warning echoed behind me, fear laced in her tone as I crossed the threshold and sprinted toward the chaos, determined to fight for him even if it meant facing the unwelcome specter of despair. The air grew thick again with dread, but fury ignited my spirit, propelling me forward as Noah's brave face shone like a beacon through the darkness. How could I turn my back on him now when he had risked everything to protect me? A wild urgency coursed through the warehouse as I burst through the door just to find the scene unfolding anew. The figure loomed over Noah, whose resolve appeared undeterred, but weariness began to weigh him down. You think you can resist? Nobody escapes their fate. There was a moment of silence, the world hanging in the balance. Then with a fierce cry I charged forward, feeling the steel resolve surrounding me. Get away from him. My voice rang clear, both for Noah and for the echoes of courage I had seen woven throughout this chaotic tapestry. Noah's eyes widened, surprised but emboldened by my determination. Marie, what are you? Time seemed to stretch in that moment, my heart pounding in tandem with my breath. The figure turned to face me, momentarily distracted, allowing Noah the split second he needed to make a daring move. Stay away from my sister. Ethan's voice pierced the tension as he lunged beside me. What happened next felt like a fever dream, a cacophony of sounds intertwined with chaos as forces collided. Noah charged back into the fray, lifting the weight of determination he had bore for so long. The shadows swirled, twisting around us. You don't own me, and you never will, he yelled, defiance lighting a hidden spark. The man faltered, caught in a swirl of swirling emotions, and in that moment something inside me shifted. The realization struck, this wasn't just our fight. It was about love, shared pain, and the strength we had found in each other. As if echoing my thoughts, Noah turned to me with defiant courage. Come with me, he shouted, his arm extended, fighting against the tide of shadows that threatened to drag me into the abyss. But the echoes of doubt clouded my vision. What if we failed? What if all of this was for nothing? Noah, you need to leave, get out of here. The moment stretched, colliding between bravery and despair as I lost myself in the depths of my feelings. What could I do to save him? To be free? My heart pulsed fiercely, and as I dared to step back into the fray beside him, a quiet understanding settled. I would fight, not just for him but for everyone I had come to cherish throughout this tumultuous journey. And then it illuminated in my mind like a flash of lightning, a pulsing idea too powerful to resist. How about I become the key? I whispered under my breath as strength surged through me. Noah! I cried out, grasping the air, channeling my will, my desperation, and my essence. Let us out. Together. What followed felt surreal. The air pulsated and shimmered around us as the shadows coiled tighter, growing as if fed by our fear and anguish. With fierce determination, I stepped forward into the cold and chaos, clenching my fists in resolve as shards of brilliance burst forth. The raw energy ignited between us, igniting a spark that surged within my being. Every bit of fear, joy, and love crackled in the atmosphere, a tempest unleashed. Suddenly, like threads of silk glimmering on a summer day, we burst forth from the fray. With one last push through the darkness, our spirits intertwined, we escaped into the lighter realm where despair clashed against hope like waves breaking against a shore. And suddenly, there they stood, each set of familiar eyes brimming with relief. Ethan, Mia, Maya, they were there, waiting for our return. The burden I had carried began to lift just as the tendrils of fear unraveled, revealing a new chapter sprawling before us. The shimmering light brightened, promising the dawn of understanding, love, and resilience against the chaos that would always be. Though the scars of our journey would linger, deep within I finally understood. Together we could face any storm, leaning on one another as the tides ebbed and flowed. And amidst the uncertainty, in that vulnerable moment, I tightened my grip around their hands, the ones I fought for, knowing love would always light the path ahead. And with determination, I whispered, "We will always find our way back, no matter the storm."